Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. I think we've got all the guests who were waiting currently admitted. So this is the OCPD's summer student internships panel discussion. We're so glad to have so many of you guys on the call. I think we have 6 students, right? Or 7 current students participating. And then hopefully we'll get some more students on the line that call in. I'm Kristen Taylor, Assistant Director for OCPD, and Nikki Smith is also here on the line.
Yes. Sorry, I lost it. I think we've got someone else's screen up there, but hi everyone, welcome. Oh, great, there we go. Welcome everyone. As Kristen said, we're excited to talk to all of you and hear about your summer experiences. Thank you for agreeing to share your stories and experiences with us and with all of our guests who are listening in. We kind of just wanted to do this to, one, check in with all of you, and then also give you guys a chance to kind of share a little bit about your summer work experiences so that other students who may be considering joining that particular employer or similar employer can kind of get an idea of what it's like to work in that practice setting. So welcome everyone who's joining the call. And with that, we will start with introductions. Kristen, did you want to kick off?
Sure. So let's start with Jaire. Tell us a little bit about your what year you are at TMSL and where you're working this summer.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jaire Davis. I am a rising 2L at the Thurgood Marshall School of Law. I'm currently a law clerk at Christensen & Jensen PC here in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I have gotten to be here and work at the firm. And then for the last couple weeks of my summer, I'll be at Pierce Atwood, and that is in Portland, Maine.
Great. Ashley.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Shelley. I'm a 2L at Thurgood Marshall School of Law, and I'm interning as a law clerk at the Disability Rights of Texas in Houston at the Houston location, but we have been remote virtual all summer. So I started back in May, and I will do my entire summer with them.
Thank you. We've got Obi.
Good evening. My name is Obi Ahagotu. I am a rising 2L at Thurgood Marshall School of Law, and I'm a clerk at the Erickson firm in Houston, Texas, and I'm actually in the office.
All right, and we have Wesley.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wesley O'carrick. I am a rising 3L. I'm currently working at Norton Rose Fulbright from the comfort of my home. We're working remote since June 22nd. So we've been going through the motions and everything, but it's been great. So yeah.
Thank you. Kelsey?
Hi, my name is Kelsey Lieber. I'm a rising 3L, and my internship was a judicial one with Judge Brown in the Southern District of Texas Galveston Division, and it was remote as well, too.
Thank you. Ashley?
Hi, good evening. I'm Ashley Lewis, a rising 2L at Thurgood. I've been working remotely this summer with the Harris County Attorney's Office and currently with Centerpoint Energy.
All right, and last but not least, Paris.
Hi guys, my name is Paris Millay and I'm a rising 2L at Thurgood Marshall. And so this summer I was working with the Harris County District Attorney's Office and I was working with the Juvenile Division. And so I started off working in person, like switching out the days, going in person and working remote, but now we've gone all the way to being remote.
All right, well, thanks. It sounds like we've got a really good variety of different practice settings. We've got some big law, some private or solo practitioner firms, some public interest agencies. We have judicial placements and corporations, right? And government, right? So we've got a good variety. So because everyone mentioned it, maybe we can start with how the effects of COVID or working remotely have affected your internship. So like Wesley, I know you're a 3L. What's been the difference between your previous internships where you were working in an office and then working from home?
Well, my story is a little bit different because, last summer I wasn't working, but I can tell you from how it's been going right now, it's been really, people think that, it's hard to work from home, but I think this whole process has taught us that a lot of things can be done from the house. So in terms of my experience so far at Fulbright, working virtual has been very seamless. We do Zoom calls just like this. I'm actually on the work laptop right now, but we've been able to integrate the program into a completely virtual program. It's been pretty nice. There's obvious pros where everything is on a calendar, so all you gotta do is get up from your couch or your bed or whatever you're doing, is click a link and boom, you're in the meeting. Or you can do some things wearing your basketball shorts, or as long as you're comfortable, you don't have to worry about parking or anything like that. So aside from the obvious conveniences, it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but thankfully a lot of the stuff that we do can be done from home. So it's been pretty seamless for me.
So Wesley, do you feel like and anyone can respond to this, how has the feedback been with getting feedback from supervisors? Do you feel that you've been getting the feedback? Are you more comfortable asking for feedback since you're not having to necessarily go into someone's office? You can kind of do it by email or Zoom. What's your thoughts on that? That's for anyone.
I'll chime in. At the Disability Rights of Texas, they're using Teams through Microsoft. And so I submit all of my work products into a portal where my team is, so they all can view it immediately and give comments like a chat right there instantly. And they still but highly recommend us to do coffee with the different attorneys in the office via Zoom. So I have had to schedule Zoom meetings with the different attorneys in the agency.
Anybody else want to share what their in-office or remote experiences have been like?
Just to piggyback off what Ashley said, it's been more or less exactly for me as well, the same thing. They kind of expect us to, although we do get feedback from our assigned attorney mentors and all that, they schedule some part of the time or leave some part of the time off solely for us to reach out. Part of actually the whole summer program is pretty much you having to reach out to other attorneys, and you get evaluated that way too, because when you're going to be working full-time, you're going to be expected to be going to offices and asking, hey, do you have some work? Do you need help with anything? And then that's how it worked. The only difference is it's not in person. So more or less, like for me personally, it's been the same thing. We submit all our assignments on this giant portal where pretty much every attorney at the firm, like globally, can see it, but we have to adjust it to where it's only Houston people. But we upload everything on there, we get feedback and all that stuff, and we have to schedule Zoom meetings as well. So it's more or less the same.
And Jaire, did you say that you were actually going into the office? Because you said you were in You're in Utah and part of the summer in Maine?
Mm-hmm. So the internship in Maine will be virtual, but this one has been completely in person. I've had the really great experience of getting to go into the office. The way they've kind of set it up is that the attorneys themselves are actually not working in the office right now. Most of them are, a couple of them are coming in because they just really like the office, but most of them are working at home and they are comfortable there. And kind of like Wesley said, we are learning now more than ever that we can do so many things from home. They're allowing the clerks to kind of go in because there's only a couple of us there, but that's been really great. Honestly, just kind of getting to sit in an actual office and talk to people and kind of do things here, there, and everywhere. I have been having Zoom coffee meetings with certain people though, so just kind of getting to know some people around the city and things like that, and I've been doing that over Zoom, so that's been really interesting. Just kind of having your little coffee, they have their coffee or whatever the case is, and that's just kind of how it works. But getting to be in the office has been great, but yeah.
Let's hear from Kelsey or somebody who's worked for a judge. I'm interested to see what that experience has been like.
So actually ours has been really different. I was, part of my internship last summer was a judicial one. And so the difference between last summer and this summer has been definitely different, especially with not having the trials being the same. So when you're in person, last summer I did a lot with we had the juries come in, you're working with attorneys, in person. There's a lot of things that are just happening on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes even a companion court might be like, hey, we don't have an intern, come help us with X, Y, Z. So it was definitely a different experience. Whereas this summer, I focused primarily just on my court. I would do assignments through email or phone with my clerk. and then we would be able to listen in to hearings or watch them on Zoom. So that was great, but it definitely was a different experience not to have, you know, every judge has their own. Some of them are okay with doing Zoom hearings. Some prefer just to do quick meetings. So it was very different.
I think that, you know, people who are in law school this time of year during this COVID crisis are going to be so capable, you know, of conducting business so differently than even 10 years ago or 20 years ago when some of us were in law school, because the learning curve is steep with adjusting to technology, and you guys are going to have, you know, such an advantage. So that's one silver lining, I think, to this situation. Obi, how's it been for you?
Well, as for me, since I'm in the office, and I feel my experience is different than most clerks at the Erickson firm, because most of them is either 2 or 3 at the same time. But as for me, it's just me and my attorney. So for 8 hours, we have to deal with each other for the whole day. So as far as the feedback, as you asked earlier, once I have an assignment, she tells me what I'm supposed to do. Now for feedback, it's upon myself to go and seek the feedback, because she's giving me an assignment. That means I have to do that. I have to complete it. That means I have to go research what I have to do, seek what I have to find to complete my assignment. But how I was trained, at least, I was trained from a 3L at South Texas before I started on my own, saying that before you come into Ms. Joanne's office, you must have already read the past files, read the procedure handbook before I asked her. So the feedback, it is instant, but sometimes you must have done your due diligence before you seek the feedback.
We heard some advice about that on last week's call from a partner at Thompson & Knight about making sure that you have exhausted all your efforts before you come to someone else seeking advice, because it shows your initiative and your tenacity, and, you know, to come to them and say, I've exhausted this, and this, and I can't find the answer, or, you know, do you have something else for me to help me assist me with the problem? So I think that's a good lesson to learn, Obi. Let's switch gears a little bit, talk about the culture at your office. Is it conservative? Is it informal, casual? How would you guys describe it? Are you comfortable? Let's talk a little bit about that. For anybody who wants to answer.
I can answer. So I had the experience of interning 2 places this summer. So at the county attorney's office, they expect you to be business professional, even if you're on Zoom. So I still had to get dressed. CenterPoint is a little bit more relaxed. The Zoom calls, usually the legal department are in their regular t-shirts and things like that. But I will say, as an intern, because I'm remote and because this is their first impression of me, I've always dressed professional on my Zoom calls with CenterPoint. I had last week a meeting with the senior vice president of the company, and he was in the downtown office with an Astros t-shirt on, and I was in a full suit. Even though I'm sitting at my own table, I just felt like, for one, it's respectful. For two, I want you to remember my professionalism. And so I've always presented myself professional, and I don't think that should change whether you're in person or on Zoom, because you're still conducting business with people that you potentially want to work with for a long time.
And just to piggyback off of what she said, it was the same for me. When I first started off, I was going in person. And so the attorney I was working for, she was like, oh, I dressed up in the full suit. And she was just like, and I had heels on everything. She was like, no, you don't have to dress up. And I was like, no, I want to. Like, this is me. Don't worry about it. And so for the duration of the time that I was going in person, I was dressing up full suit. And just like she said, just, you know, maintaining the professionalism.
They used to tell us, you know, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. That's what my parents used to tell me growing up. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are still maintaining that, and it all goes to help reputation if they're good, you know, even the future reputation if they're good, to know that students are coming for their internships dressed professionally, and they, you know, are maintaining that level of training. So Nikki, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, that all of you guys are definitely maintaining your professionalism. That makes us happy. I also want to talk a little bit about the skills, right? So let's maybe switch to what you're learning. So who wants to talk about maybe what one of their favorite assignments has been over the summer, and what legal skills have you learned from as a result of that assignment?
I'll go first. So at the Disability Rights of Texas, they're a protection and advocacy agency. So I kind of did not realize the advocacy part of it. So after, everything that went on in Houston and with the police brutality, my agency actually drafted the letter that went out to the school districts to defund police in school, and 3 clerks, me and 2 other clerks, got to draft that letter, and it went out, and the Houston Chronicle picked it up. Miss Guthrie at the Earl Carl Institute works on that project too. So we were like directly tied with that. So it was super cool to be a part of that in today's time. And then right now I am drafting a due process complaint by myself. I don't know how that's possible, but yeah, so that is the legal skill that I've been working on, just issue spotting of statement of facts and going through discovery and drafting the entire complaint. I did submit each section to my team so that they can review and then send back. But I just submitted the complete complaint today, right before this submitted. So now I'm just waiting to hear how that goes. But it could go through the entire due process procedure, and I, drafted that. So I think that's super cool.
That's awesome, Ashley. Yeah.
Ashley's being humble, but she was actually published by the Houston Chronicle. So
congratulations, Ashley.
Very proud. Good job.
Yay. That's definitely something to make note of on your resume.
Yeah, I did. It was super cool. And the agency shared it with everyone. So I had all these people reaching out because my supervising attorney, once we drafted that letter, had me go behind it and then write a letter to the editor, and the editor printed my letter about 2 weeks ago. So it's super cool.
Awesome. Congrats.
I'll go next. So like I said, I was only going in person for, I want to say 2 weeks. And the reason being another intern. So it was only 3 interns out of all the interns that were interning for the district attorney's office that were working in the juvenile division. So we were basically rotating out between the attorneys that were there. And so one of the interns thought that she may have gotten COVID. And so Kristen and Nikki know, she thought that she had it. And so I immediately, I was on my way to work, and the attorney was like, hey, someone thinks that they may be positive. So I immediately just turned around and went got tested, because we basically were all working in the same space. So the time that I was going, I had one assignment. It was a memo. And so I was really prepared. I was so comfortable when she gave me the assignment. I pretty much got it done within a day. I was there for 3 or 4 hours, and I got it done. It was basically over a case. So she made me look over the case and then draft the memo. And the next time I went in, we went over it. And she was really surprised, at how good my writing skills were. And I can say that, Thurgood definitely prepared me, because I got it done really quickly, and I was so comfortable with it. And then when she gave me my feedback, it wasn't, a lot negative feedback. It was very good. She was very impressed. So yeah, I was excited about that. It was my first official memo.
Great job.
Yay.
That's fine, man. So I'm not sure if it's maybe just the private sector. As far as me, I don't have a particular project. For example, my workload depends on my attorney's, what she has to do and has to get done. For example, the day after orientation, I came into the office in the morning. She said, yeah, OB, you're gonna draft an answer for summary, an answer to a motion for summary judgment. In my mind, I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because I've never done that before. So I was able to actually use Westlaw. That's my first time actually noticing how much stuff Westlaw actually has for you. So Westlaw has examples and forms. So really, if you don't know what to do, it's somewhere. So besides that, I have done discovery. I drafted requests for admissions, requests for productions. Actually, today before I got on, I was doing a contract before I left office, because she said, I can't leave until I finish that contract. So I was able to do that. So my tasks vary daily. I don't have an assigned project or one assigned task. It just depends on what you want me to do. And it's especially on deadlines. She's big on deadlines, so deadlines is her priority.
And Obi, you at a civil litigation firm here in Houston?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many attorneys are at your firm?
It's her by herself right now.
Okay. And you're the only intern?
Yes, right now. When I was coming in, 2 were leaving. I was like, oh my God, you guys are leaving.
I think that's a great example of Obi's experience of working with a solo practitioner, is that you are just gonna have to roll with whatever the attorney has going on in that given time, whatever caseload he or she has, you kind of roll with whatever they've got going. So I think you're, in addition to learning civil litigation skills and writing skills, you're also learning how to just wear different hats every day, right?
Anyone else? Oh, go ahead, Wesley.
Oh, sorry. So my experience, well, my projects have been nowhere near as interesting as everyone else's, but to me, it's interesting. So one of the cool things I got to do recently was I was working on a pro bono project with a colleague of mine, and basically what happened was we had to draft a demand letter, basically ordering a landlord to pay up because a tree that was on this apartment complex fell on top of someone's car. And we had to talk about how, you know, basically they were liable because they own the premises, and negligence and all that good stuff that you learn in law school. But the cool thing about it was that, you know, the minute I introduced myself, we introduced ourselves to the client, because they actually had us contact the client. They didn't tell us anything other than, this is your client, this is your case. We're going to oversee the things and do the things y'all can't do because you're not attorneys, but it's all y'all. So I was actually speaking to her today, and she was venting to me about how, you know, the landlord's been giving her the runaround, this and that. And I try to assure her that, you know, everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna draft this demand letter. When in the inside, I'm like, I've never done this in my life. I hope this is not trash. I hope she doesn't, you know, I don't let her down or anything like that. But it was really cool. And, you know, we drafted that today. We had it looked over, and we had it sent to the landlord today. So hopefully he's starting to feel some of the fire on his feet now. But in case he's not, it was a really cool project because we definitely get to see, you know, the real life aspect of law. I know people think, at least for big law, that, you know, we're not really outside too much, but a lot of the things that we do, and our firm in particular encourages it, is the pro bono work. So for those of you who don't know, pro bono is, you know, free legal representation, usually for those people who are indigent or cannot afford the services. But our firm is really big on pro bono work. And that was actually one of the first things they had us do before we did any of the other stuff, like the memos, the redlining contracts, all that good stuff. So, but yeah, that's my coolest project so far. And hopefully we'll get a good email tomorrow morning, because that guy needs to pay up.
Very cool.
I was just going to ask about client interaction, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Has anybody else had some interactions with clients?
Yes, I have gotten to kind of talk to some people. What's been great is that I have had the opportunity to work with a lot of different attorneys, and at the firm, what's great is that they each kind of have a different practice area. So I've been able to do some criminal law, some family law, civil rights is what I'm really interested in. But when I first got to the firm, the criminal law attorney, he was just kind of like, hey, I need some help. Are you willing to help? And I was like, well, of course. So I kind of dive into these 2 different cases, and I got to meet both of the clients from both cases. And it was just, I think it was incredible, because I think for me, I'm a people person. So something I was worried about was maybe not getting to talk to people as much and not getting that face-to-face, but I still was able to get that. Obviously, you know, that we're keeping the group of people small within the room, and we're staying 6 feet apart, but it was great to just get to kind of talk to them and see them, because I think with our work, it can sometimes become a little not real, you know what I mean? Like, you're not seeing a person sometimes, it's just a name on a piece of paper. But this made the situation real, it made the case real. So that was really great. Kind of just seeing how the attorney handled the client, how honest he was, how honest the client was with us about everything. It's been really great. And I think client interaction is something that's really special in our field.
Absolutely.
I was just gonna say, you know, everybody's client is different. So at Centerpoint, my client is the company. So employees and whoever works for Centerpoint or has any dealings with Centerpoint, we have to have contact with. But I wanted to piggyback off of what Obi said about Westlaw. For the majority of my summer, because I'm in an in-house counsel atmosphere, any problem that comes up is what we have to deal with that day. And my first assignment, I had no idea what it was about. It was an antitrust issue. And I called all my friends to have a research party because we had to get on Westlaw and figure it out. I had no idea. And as far as my assignments go, you kind of get an assignment because that's the issue. And the attorneys are not, I will say my attorneys are not checking in with you every single day. They give you an assignment and they expect to hear back from you in 3 to 5 days, usually by the end of the week. So asking for deadlines is really important. But I've had client interaction since day one, and research, I cannot stress how important that is. You have to know how to research and use Westlaw because it is your lifeline when working for any attorney. And that's pretty much what I've done. My first assignment was to research the security guard guidelines by state administrative code, because in the midst of the protests in Minneapolis, where Centerpoint has one of its divisions, the security guards did not want to wear their police looking uniforms to work. So I actually had to research the codes and figure out what guidelines they actually have to abide by and how we could adjust it. So now Centerpoint Security is working in plain clothing with badges based on the research that I did. So you just kind of have to roll with the punches, but Westlaw and Lexis are your best friends. And I went to the Lexis and Westlaw, the Lexis table every single week. And I used every single tip that I learned. And I got some of that from Kelsey. So that's what we need to do.
Awesome.
We love seeing you guys at the tables. Just to go off of that, thanks, Ashley. So our assignments are definitely a little bit different. So I only worked with the clerks and the judge. And so we don't interact at all. Well, at least I don't interact at all with the attorneys. So my assignments are mostly just helping the clerks with their workload. And so each clerk would have a list of assignments, and they would kind of, going off as other people have said, it was more rolling deadlines. So here's your couple assignments, get them back. And then like based upon those would be what would you work on next. A couple of things I did a lot of were de novo reviews. And the first one took me a really long time. I had no idea what I was getting into at the beginning, honestly. And I was like, oh, okay, I can get this back within a couple days. And that really like opened my eyes to how intensive it was. And I think that was probably one of the best learning experiences, was just how much went into that. And then working with the clerks to kind of develop my own understanding, and then being able to review, their work. And then when you'd have a de novo review of another de novo review, being able to see what the clerks had done. And really, I think that helped my own understanding just so much, because I was able to see their work and kind of say, oh, that's traced how they had done things, and then say, okay, this is how I would have done it, or I should have done it this way maybe. So I thought that was a really cool experience.
I'm so excited and proud of all the work that you guys have done. I think it's a really cool time to be an intern right now in the legal industry because of all the things that are going on in our world. So you guys have gotten to work on some pretty awesome projects and be a part of some change. So that's amazing too. I kind of want to touch on what Ashley and Kelsey were talking about with research. Did you guys feel prepared based on what you've learned so far at Thurgood from your research and writing courses and your doctrinal classes? Did you guys feel prepared and capable when you went into your internships?
I think I felt prepared because we use Westlaw all year. Even when you're not in your research and writing class, you should be using Westlaw and just looking at stuff. So the search connectors and little things that you learn about searching Westlaw really, really help. And narrowing down jurisdictions, that really helps because Centerpoint has cohorts in 8 different states. So I don't know if I'm working for my attorney in Indiana or in Texas or Minnesota. So I felt prepared with that, just knowing how to narrow down the jurisdiction and the issue that I need to find. I feel like my doctrinal courses really helped because you don't really think that you're going to research a civil procedure issue, but literally that's my assignment this week, is to figure out whether employees who testify are lay witnesses for expert witnesses. So it really helps. I didn't expect everything to kind of tie together, but definitely in an in-house position, you're going to use everything that you learn.
Yeah, I definitely felt prepared. I thought it was a really interesting experience to be able to use what I'd learned from 1L year and then also building on that for 2L year. There was one instance where I'd been given a case and they didn't have the whole site. So they were like, you need to try to find this, but we wrote it down wrong and we can't figure out which case it is. So I ended up having to call Lexus and just find out which case it was, and they were able to help me find it because that was really crucial to us actually being able to start the research. So I think like not only just being able to use it for research in general, but being able to find, you know, if someone gives you something and you don't have all the information, using the resources to either call or chat with either Westlaw or Lexus, you know, is just really helpful in order to make sure that you're able to keep going and not be stuck for too long on an assignment.
So to kind of piggyback on Nikki's question about preparation from Thurgood, are any of you working with students from other schools that you may have thought have a more prestigious reputation or higher ranking than Thurgood? And how do you feel working side by side with those students? And what has been your experience about how Thurgood has prepared you?
I'll try. At the Disability Rights of Texas, we have just in the education team, I only work on the education team. So on the education team, I think it might be about 9 law clerks. Some TMSL students work on that team with me. I see Charles Graham down there. We work together on that education team. But there are students from St. Edward's Law School, U of H Law School, South Texas School of Law, and UT as well. So we do like a coffee chat or lunch chat with the law clerks together. And actually just yesterday, one of the law clerks reached out to me from St. Edward's, and we had a conference with each other because she was aware that I got published. And so we just went through like the different things that my school prepared me for versus her school. And it was very similar. You know, you have the same things. We talked about my writing and research classes, which I thought had prepared me very well because I am drafting a full complaint. And so like statement of facts and issue spotting came straight from those writing assignments that I got in our writing classes. So I'm gonna say it's pretty much the same. I never felt like any one of us knew anything more than each other. So that was my takeaway of it.
I think I can go ahead and chime in on this too. So especially with my background, I'm working with people who went to UT. Most of them are UT grads. We have a couple Harvard people, one person from Pennsylvania, I believe, and another UH person. But in terms of TMSL, it's just me. But thankfully, I feel like, and especially when you're trying to go into the big law space, it's very easy to get imposter syndrome and feel like, ah, man, like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here, or I don't know if I just got lucky. But for me personally, I've always felt like Thurgood gave me everything I needed to succeed and more. And the great thing about, at least where I work, is that once you get in the door, nobody cares where you went to school at. You know, there's a very big misconception. And I thought this before I actually got in the door, that, you know, I thought your school was going to make or break you. Understand that, and this can probably go for any place you're applying to. If the job likes you as a person, they're going to take you no matter what. Okay? So don't feel like, oh, just because I didn't go to a higher ranked school that I can't get this opportunity. If anything, let me be proof of that, because I'm in a space where people think that it's for the elite few, and it's really not. You just gotta have someone take a chance on, well, not even take a chance on you, have someone give you an interview, and then once you get an interview, you just take over from there. And then next thing you know, once you're in the door, you're just a summer associate at the firm, and you're not, oh, that one Thurgood guy. Like, no, that's at least not how it is at my firm. And I can't say this for other firms, but I think that the whole school thing is very overrated in terms of the corporate sector. So.
I'd like to chime in because I'm so far from Texas right now. I have never felt like I was at a disadvantage. The University of Utah and BYU, they are the schools that kind of feed into Christensen and Jensen. And if I can be honest with you, we're learning the same things. We're writing the same way. I'm getting great compliments, just like all my other clerks and colleagues. And if I can be honest with you, there's a great sense of pride. You know, honestly, when Wesley got his position, I think all of us were so proud of him for that, right? Because it was like a big thing. But honestly, I'm just proud of everyone, right? Because I think the idea is that we go to the Thurgood Marshall School of Law, right? You know, there's a sense of pride that we go to an HBCU, we go to a school that was created by us, for us. And so for me, I'm just trying to make the best impression on everyone that I can. And I want to show them HBCUs are never and never have been less than. We are just as good, if not better, every time. And so that's just how I feel about it. That's what I've been doing. That's how I've been representing Thurgood. And I know that's how everyone else has been representing us. So never feel disadvantaged. We are so, so special.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So even though I was only able to work alongside 2 clerks from South Texas for 1 day, but at my computer, essentially all our computers in the office, we share files of different clerks from different areas. And I believe, if I'm correct, the last Thurgood Marshall clerk was in maybe, I think it was 2 or 3 summers ago, which she did tell me that during the interview. So I definitely kind of made it my own task. Okay, everything I'm going to submit is going to be the best of my ability. And honestly, I want it to be the best compared to other people there too. Because my model is that I'm not working for me, I'm working for somebody who's coming after me. So after comparing to my colleagues from South Texas, and I think she had people from U of H, and based on her feedback, Thurgood Marshall is teaching you literally the same thing, probably even better, as far as you being able to understand it and comprehend what's going on. And honestly, it shows in our work product outside of school. As you see, look at the panelists, I'm sure we're all doing pretty well in our summer positions, and our work product is definitely showing that.
I wanted to piggyback off of what Obi said when he said he's not working for him, he's working for someone behind him. This is so, so true, because at Centerpoint, they only choose 1 legal intern for the summer. And I was the single intern selected. But even before me, when I started at Centerpoint, they had so many good things to say about the previous intern, who was Kay Essence Bowden, also a Thurgood Marshall graduate. So that's so important, just to like lay the foundation and keep the reputation of the school where it should be. So Kay Essence did great work, and for that reason, they were so welcoming to me and wanted me to know Kay, but I had already met her at school, of course. So I think that's very important, that you have to keep in mind that people from Thurgood are going to come behind you and try to work at these same jobs. So you do want to go in and put your best foot forward.
I love all these stories. You guys are making us proud. I do want, Kristen, did you have anything that you wanted to ask?
I just was going to ask about any opportunities that you guys have had for networking or building relationships. I don't want to say that you formed a mentorship relationship over this past summer, but have you started to lay the groundwork, or is there someone that you've identified at your firm that you want to establish a mentorship relationship with?
I will go ahead and take this. So for me personally, I was fortunate enough to meet someone named Reginald Wilson. He graduated from the school, I believe, 2015, and he was a Thurgood Marshall alum, of course, and he currently works at Fulbright as a senior associate, and he's also on the hiring committee. Obviously, this is someone that you want to be close to, but for me personally, me and him just kind of clicked because we kind of saw things the same way in terms of laying the groundwork so for other people to come in and have an easier time than we did. And the cool thing about Fulbright, and not even just Fulbright, but kind of the Houston area, was that all of the African-American attorneys in Houston kind of know each other. We kind of converged at Fulbright because Fulbright has the most African-American attorneys within the Houston area.
And some are on the call, by the way.
Oh, well, shout out to y'all. But aside from that, there's a really great sense of camaraderie within the firm. And Reggie was kind of the gatekeeper of that, and getting to know him and kind of being under his wing and just learning all the things that he knows and understanding what it means to be working in this space as an African-American male was something that was very important to me. So from my experience, having that camaraderie, because working as a lawyer, we're all going to be making good money. We're all going to be making, having a good living. But for me, it's deeper than that. I want to work with people who look like me and who understand what it's like to be like me. And this is not to, say anything of any other minorities. We all have stories, but as a Black man, especially now, it's important to have a voice and to be on a unified front. And I believe that not only does Fulbright have that camaraderie, but the firm puts money behind these attorneys and allows them to vocalize how they feel and enact real change. So for me personally, that's how it's been.
Anybody else want to chime in on this?
Yes. So I actually he's a shareholder, he's a partner at the firm. And it's funny, I don't even really know how he knew to kind of just introduce himself to me, but I was sitting there getting trained on some of the programs, and he walks up and he, just introduces himself. He's just super nice, right? So he's like, you know what, I'll come back and talk to you later. He comes back to my office and he just starts talking to me about all sorts of things, particularly the ABA, the American Bar Association. But I think the best thing, his name is Nate, the best thing Nate could have ever done for me, he wrote down a list. He's an older white man, but what he did was he wrote down a list of all the minority attorneys in Salt Lake City, anybody who is, a minority that really cares about bringing more minorities to Salt Lake City. He really just created a network for me on this one piece of paper. Right then and there, I found all of them on LinkedIn. So I messaged them on LinkedIn. I let them know how I found them. I let them know that I'm willing to go for coffee. And those are some of the people who I've created a network with. I'm meeting with another one of those people on Friday, my last day. I met, she's actually one of my sorority sisters, but she is one of the first Black judges here in the state of Utah. And that's the type of network that he helped me build, right? And that's the type of mentorship, and that's the type of mentor that you want, right? Somebody that may not look like you, somebody that may not have had the same path as you, but that's someone that wants better for you than they have for themselves. And that's what he wanted for me, and that's what I've had. So that is really, really incredible. And it was so important. When my sister came to visit, we went over for dinner with his family, and they were just so welcoming. And that is, I think, the greatest kind of gift I've gotten here is that, I think you think of Salt Lake City and you're like, I don't know about that. And I was the same way. I was not sure, but I tried it. I came here and it has been nothing but a great experience for me. So please don't be afraid to go somewhere that you may not think you're going to fit in. Please go where the opportunity is, go where the money is, because I'm telling you, money talks every time. But get to know people because they will put you on. He put me on, and I'm very grateful to him for that.
And just to piggyback off of what Jaira was saying, so like I said, I wasn't working in person as much. Some of the work I was doing was remote, but the times that I were working remote, the first hearings, like they have juvenile hearings like every Monday. And so I sit and listen. And so it's the court clerk, it's the prosecutor, it's defense attorneys, and then they'll have the juvenile and then the judge. And so we're all in the Zoom conference and, they're speaking to the defense attorney, the prosecutor is giving their statement. And so the first court that I was in, the judge, she was Caucasian. And so I was kind of nervous, like the room, it wasn't, I just was so nervous. It was like my first hearing. I'm an intern. Like I was just trying to make sure my camera was working and just trying to make sure, that I was on top of my stuff. Fast forward the second week, I was working with another attorney. He was African-American and the judge was African-American. And when I say the feeling like was so different, like they made sure they included me in the discussion. They were asking me, personal questions, laughing, cracking jokes. And I just think that it's very important that we understand like the tone that we set for, people coming behind us. Like we said, like I thank them so much for that experience because I was so nervous and they made sure that I wasn't and included me in everything. So yeah, I think it's just very important, to help those who are coming in behind you.
I'll add to that too.
I'm sorry, I'm curious to hear about Kelsey's experience with her judge. I know one of the awesome things I think about clerking, about clerkships and judicial internships are the ability to really have that one-on-one interaction with your judge and that judge's clerks and build off of those relationships. Can you share a little bit about your experience with that, with your judge?
Yes. So the three clerks, two of them had gone and had a career. They had worked about 10 years in private practice. And then the other cleric was just out of law school. So it was really interesting to hear all of their dynamics. I really connected with the one who had just gotten through law school because we had a lot more to talk about. You know, she had her classes she just taken. We just talked about the bar and how different it was. So like a lot more things that were very similar in our lives. Whereas the other ones had a lot more to offer with like their experience, you know, been in private practice, now taking a step outside to clerk. And so some of their different advice and tips and tricks, you know, from being in like the private sector and then coming in, that was really helpful. And with the judge, Judge Brand was awesome to work with. He definitely took a lot of time afterwards to make sure that he would talk about what happened and kind of go through his experience, or, you know, maybe we should work on not doing this if we're attorneys, or working more towards that. So that was really helpful to hear. And the clerks would sit down and talk with me on the phone afterwards to say, you know, what were you thinking? How did you think he would rule? Or if he took it under advisement, what way do you think someone like he might lean, and based upon what? And so being able to really talk it out and say, you know, based upon, you know, evidence or what the counsel was saying, it was really helpful to hear. And I think it was also fun to hear a lot of them had their summer interns on as well. So the Judge Brand did a great job including them and talking with them. So I thought that was pretty cool to hear, because I know that not all judges, you know, take the time just to acknowledge all of us as students. And I thought that was like pretty cool to see someone who was willing to go out of their way to make that impact.
That's awesome. So I think we're coming up right until around 10 or 12 minutes or so. Kristen, did you want to go ahead and open for questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody in the chat have a question?
For everyone who's on the call, I see several alums, Tony and Omar, and several other students who joined in. So thanks for being here to listen. Yeah, do we have any questions or comments?
Anybody?
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
To Wesley and just everybody, what do you think about your cover letters, or just your personalities that got the different employers interested in meeting with you and continuing on your employment?
Sure. I know for me personally, the cover letter was something that Nikki and Kristen helped me a lot with, because I had no idea what the cover letter was supposed to do. But I think with the cover letter, and this goes for your resume and all that stuff, you're basically trying to show, at least for the corporate side of the big law sector, you're trying to show the firm what value you bring to them, you know, because if they're picking up your application and they're giving you an interview, or if they're deciding to give you an interview, they're going to look at all that stuff first. Most likely they'll look at your resume first. If they like your resume, then they'll go to your cover letter. If they like both of those things, then you might get a call back. But once you get that call back and you get inside the room, I think one thing that kind of separates people from getting callbacks or not, for me personally, I know one thing I talked about in all of my interviews is that I'm a very big person about having a deeper meaning of life. So I have this thing called a why. And my why basically is what gets me out of bed every day, what is the reason why I'm in the legal field, and my why is to inspire somebody. And I said this to all the firms I talked to. I said, if I leave this earth and I've inspired one person to achieve whatever they want to achieve, then I'll be happy with that. And I said that about 20 times, but yeah. The cool thing about that is that those are things that they remember, because, you know, you're going to get the usual, tell me about yourself, tell me about the organization you were in. You might get an occasional, name one time you were challenged, you went through adversity, usual stuff that you can kind of Google or anything like that. But I think what separates some applicants from others is having a deeper meaning. And for me, having that why is what really helped me resonate with a lot of the attorneys I spoke to. And they understood that, okay, this student is not just here just to put something on his resume. It's deeper than what he's doing. So I think, and this goes for any sector you want to apply to, whether it's public sector, in-house, judicial clerks, having a why as an attorney is going to be the reason why you go very far in your career and have a successful career. Because like I said, we're all going to be having a great living, hopefully, and we're going to be doing a lot of great things. But if you don't have that why, then what's the point of all of it? So I think those are things to keep in mind. And aside from the cover letter, which you want to make sure you're using that to sell yourself to the firm, and your resume is obviously all of your timeline of professional, academic all that stuff. But once you get that, having that why and having that personable attitude and personality will take you really far in life. So that's my spiel on that.
I would agree. And like piggyback on Wesley, when he said he got help from Kristen and Nikki on the resume and cover letter, I was one of those people that were like bothering them every week because I was so nervous. But literally, they helped me with my resume, my cover letter, my hair, my outfit. Do I look okay? Is there something on my teeth? Like, I need somewhere to do a virtual interview because I didn't expect that. So they helped me with a lot. And not only that, but as preparing, when preparing for interviews, the practice interviews or the mock interviews that they had where they bring people in, I was able to interview with Leslie Cleaver. She's general counsel for the Astros. That was so invaluable to me. It was the best practice that I could have going into actual interviews. And I can't say enough about that. Leslie keeps in contact. And who doesn't want to know general counsel for the Astros, right? I'm not from Houston, so that was great for me because now I have something to talk about that deals with Astros. So I can't stress enough how invaluable OCPD is to everyone.
I don't mean to cut anyone off, but I just want to echo everything Ashley said. I can't stress this enough. Nikki and Kristen are amazing. And if you go to Thurgood Marshall and you are trying to get onto the job market, no matter what type of job you want to work, talk to these ladies. Last summer, I had no job, nothing. I spent half of my summer applying for jobs for this summer. And I was in Nikki and Kristen's office almost every day, getting my resume cut up. They were telling me, you got to cut your beard off. You got to do this, this, and that. They're probably, I'm sorry about this, but that's another discussion. But aside from that, OCPD is really, really a really amazing resource. And I really challenge you guys to take advantage of all the resources they have, because this is not something, especially for Thurgood people, it's not easy to get on the job market because of the opportunities that are available. There's not as much as you would find in other places, but that doesn't mean it should be worked to your detriment. It can actually work to your benefit if you play your cards right. But definitely take advantage of OCPD and everything that's offered, because I promise you it works. And if you don't believe it works, talk to me. I have a whole list of things they did for me last summer that helped me get to where I am now. So definitely take advantage.
And I'll add into that. I mean, I went into Nikki's office and I was very tunnel visioned on exactly what type of law I wanted to practice. And I was not deviating from that and did not want to be distracted from doing education law. But as I sat talking to Nikki, she was generating an email right there in front of me, like, okay, when you leave here, you're going to contact this person, this person, this person. And I walked out of there with material in my hand on just who to email, who to send my resume and cover letter to, just from that personal experience with her. So yes, OCPD is amazing. And I got my job from the job fair that they brought on campus. So wouldn't have it if that didn't even take place.
Yes, please.
Well, thank you guys.
I have
we
to
want
add.
it to be about you. We want this to be about you guys.
I see a
We
couple.
do.
Oh yeah,
That's how we got here. So
We do. We appreciate it. We appreciate the good feedback, and it's good to know that it's making a difference. So we're always happy to hear that. We did have some questions in the chat that I wanted to put out to you guys before we run out of time. Tony Martin wanted to ask if there's one thing that you could tell the next person entering into your position, what would it be?
I'll take that one. Do not be afraid to ask questions. I feel as if when we are in these opportunities, we're scared to mess up. We're scared to bug their attorney. But if you don't ask questions, one, you probably won't know what you're doing. Two, you aren't going to learn. And essentially, these employers want you to come here and learn something, take something out of it, and essentially take that and grow. So questions have definitely been saving me. My attorney knows that I'm not scared to ever head to her office. Only if it's closed. If the door is closed, then I should wait a little bit, because it's trouble if I open that door. But definitely ask questions. Questions will never hurt you.
I would say to apply some more. I applied to over 80 internships at the end of the day. I don't know how, I don't know why, I think now that I'm where I am today, I'm realizing that might have been just a tad bit excessive, but I got my jobs, right? And I think that's the thing that we forget sometimes is like, we're suffering right now, like, you know, writing all those cover letters and doing all those things. But at the end of the day, we're all paid, we're where we need to be. And so I would say just apply because, you know, and also don't be afraid to go somewhere that you've never been before. You know, Houston is huge, but there's only so many law firms and law clerk positions, right? And so I had someone tell me a really great piece of advice. Don't ever be afraid to go somewhere. Don't be afraid to go where the opportunity is. Apply, do whatever you can. And just know that, you know, the little bit of pain you're going through during that application process will get you exactly where you need to be at the end of the day.
I think to go off of that too, I got my internship through JOP, and I wasn't even certain that I wanted to try to get a judicial internship. And so just going to different events that are hosted either at school or online, I don't know how they're going to be this next year, but really take advantage. You never know. And I think connecting with alums, not only before doing the application for JOP, but now during this whole internship, Dean Smith's helped me like connect with a lot of alums, and that's really helped me decide what I want to do postgraduate. And so I think like taking advantage not only in the position you're at and trying to like work and do that, but also like thinking towards the future and how can you connect, how can you see if this is what you want to do or how you should navigate in the future. It's like really helpful.
And that also leads us to the next question that was in the chat. Has your internship experience changed where you think you want to work after graduation? So are you still on the same plan or are you changing course?
I'll take this one. Okay, so I spent my time working, you know, for the prosecution for the Juvenile Justice Center. And so I basically realized that that's not what I want to do after I graduate. And so I think that like when I first entered into law school, I kept telling myself, be a sponge, because I had heard that from so many like other law students and attorneys, like, you don't know if you're going to like it or not until you try it. And so I tried it and I realized that it isn't for me. Me personally, I don't think that I would ever, I can't, like, I'm so emotional. I can't be comfortable like prosecuting juveniles or even, you know, prosecuting anyone. And, you know, I found out that that wasn't for me. And so I commend anybody who do it, but I know that it isn't for me. So, yeah.
I'm completely different from Paris, working for the Disability Rights of Texas and being a part of the advocacy. They are one of the leading agency for advocacy in civil rights school districts, you know, and it has just been completely everything I could have ever asked for. And I've already asked them to extend my internship into the fall, and they agreed to that. And so now I'm like, now can I intern with you guys every summer, and can I secure my job when it's over? So we have been talking about the Equal Justice Fellowship sponsored through them. So together as an education team, they're going to help me draft that fellowship for the agency. So hopefully after law school, I'll get to stay with the Disability Rights of Texas for a couple of years. So
I would say what I wanted to practice completely changed. I actually worked in the juvenile courts with the Harris County Attorney's Office before coming to law school. So I always was family or juvenile. That's what I want to do when I graduate. But now that I've gotten the in-house general counsel atmosphere with Centerpoint and just the day-to-day challenges and learning something completely new every day, I love that excitement, and I will do anything to get an in-house position. Like, that's what I'm gunning for from here on out. And when I was applying, that was not what I was looking for. So I'm really glad to just have had that experience with Centerpoint, because that's what I want to do now.
I'm gonna just keep my spiel short. Sorry. I knew I didn't want to do litigation. I wanted to do corporate work. By the time I got to Fulbright, I knew for sure that I didn't want to do litigation. And now finishing, about to be finishing in a couple of weeks, I'm 1,000% sure I'll never do anything litigation related. But I say that to say, you know, especially for those of you who are wanting to go into the transactional side of law, I know law school is very litigation focused. So if you want to go into that type of law, you definitely want to make sure that you're utilizing resources and reaching out and applying everywhere, because transactional opportunities don't come as easily. Well, none of these opportunities come as easily, but specifically transactional, because of the niche area that it's in, and because you don't really get a lot of exposure to it in law school. But definitely what I've done right now has confirmed what I already knew. The corporate side of law is where I'm going to be working for quite some time. So.
Great. Thank you guys so much. I think we covered all the questions that were in the chat, and I think it was a really informative discussion. I thank you guys for being so candid and for having such, wisdom that you guys have gained from 1 or 2 years of law school. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you guys sound like seasoned pros already. So I think, in the spirit of Thurgood, we all need to, protect it, improve it, and pass it on. So thank you guys for participating, and we will end the chat now. Have a great night.
Thank you guys. Congrats.
Thank you all.
Yeah, congratulations. Okay.
Kristen, did you want to